All right, everybody, so let's get started. So what we're going to be talking about today is understanding form and basically talking about three key principles, which are universal forms, symmetry, and proportion and ratio, okay? So we're going to take a little quiz. Everybody ready? And I just want to see a show of hands. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you guys two images side by side. One will be listed as A, one is going to be listed as B. I want to get your first reaction to which one you like better, okay? Don't think about it. Don't overanalyze it. Just first gut. Just that hand goes up. I'll say how many for A, how many for B, okay? But again, don't overanalyze this at all. All right. How many for A? Raise your hand. One. How many for B? Like 20-something people. Okay. All right. It's all right, Barb. Don't worry. You're good. You're good. All right. Ready for another one? All right. How many for A? Raise your hand. About 5. How many for B? About 12. Okay? All right. So, let me tell you a little story, okay? I was a student here like, I don't know, I don't even want to say the year, but a while ago. And when I was making things, when I had really understood how to make potteries, how to throw a pot, I would make these shapes. And they never looked as good as this guy by the name of Phil, who was in the class. Now this isn't that Phil, this is my friend Phil. But I wanted to just put his picture up there just to give it a point of reference.
I was going to say, did you contact him, get his permission?
Yeah, he's good with it. He's good. But I worked really, really hard, and I couldn't figure it out. And I thought the more hours I plug into, the better I'm going to be. But what I didn't realize is to making pottery, there's actually a hidden language to making things. That once you understand these three key principles, okay, there are others that I could discuss as well, but these are really like the three core things that if you understand them, your pots are gonna really develop in making beautiful shapes, okay? So let's take a look and let's talk about it, all right? So it's the hidden language of pottery. The first principle is the use of what's called universal forms, all right? So these are things that we're very familiar with, right? The square, the rectangle, the triangle, the circle, and the oval, all right? When we use these in pottery, they really will sing visually for your viewer. So let's use this as an example. This is a great example of a rectangle, right? We have a glass container, the shape of a rectangle, and I have the blue rectangle to be reflective of the same shape. If we take a look at the triangle, this glass is actually a triangle. If this line continues, we notice it's sort of on this diagonal train. If this continues, it goes through the table, but it'll continue to make a long triangle. So you can kind of see it in this term, right? You guys see how we're just going straight down? We're taking a section of that triangle. All right. Here's another great example. So if we look at the main shape of this, this is sort of a circle shape. All right. But then it's sliced in half, and then we give it two transition points. What's a transition point? It's where we sort of make a change in the shape, all right? And that's signified in the foot, which happens to be a long rectangle if we look at it, okay? And the top, all right? We just flare it out just a little bit, and then we glaze it white. So it almost acts like a picture frame, framing this beautiful pattern that we see in the middle. Does that make sense? So again, we're only using it fractionally. Now this is where it gets a little weird. We're stacking multiple shapes, one over the other, All right, so if we take a look at this, we sort of see this circle shape. If we look here, we kind of got an oval shape. If we look at here, here's a triangle, and then here's a bit of a rectangle. Okay, and you'll see it more clearly when we're talking about the Greeks. All right, so ancient Greeks were really did a lot with universal forms. So if you go down to the Art Institute of Chicago, you'll really get to see those beautiful shapes. We even have have you guys seen it outside over here? We have like a 550 BC Greek urn. Check it out. It's right out there. It's really beautiful. But if we take a look at this, we can really see these shapes, right? So here's sort of that oval shape, a little bit engulfed in a circle shape. Here's your triangle. I mean, here is your rectangle, and even a piece of a triangle. Okay? If we look here, this one for me really stands out. Do you guys see it? We see this giant oval here, right? And then we've got this like circle shape right here. And then over here we have a circle shape, oval shape, and then we sort of even have a square pattern here and then a triangle. Do you guys see that? All right. All right. When you look at this shape, what do you guys see? What do we see? What universal forms are at play? We got a rectangle, right? Circle if you're looking from a bird's eye perspective. And then look at the negative space in there, right? That's an oval. Do you see that? Clear as day now, right? If we take a look at this, what do we got? A triangle, and then what's this? Good. How about this one? Oval. Great. Good. And then this one's tricky. What do we see here? We see circles. Where do we see circles? Everywhere. Yeah, we do. We see a little circle here, right? We see a lot of ovals. So if we look at the shape here, do you see the oval? Now what's interesting about this oval, do you notice the lid is a continuation of that oval? Okay? And even this, your transition point, breaks that line up a little bit. We know it's a transition point because there's a change in shape, but there's also this interesting pattern on there, right? Here's a fun one when we take a look at this. We also noticed there is a little oval here, right? And then here's the one that's sort of hidden from you. But if we follow this curve around and go around, that's an oval shape. You see it? All right? And then there's squares here as well. So it is literally utilizing those universal forms in every component of that shape. Okay, so help me with this one. What do we see here? Rectangle. Okay, good. What else? A what? Triangle. Yep. Yep. Great. Anything else? It's kind of a little triangle here. The lid, that's probably more like a little rectangle, right? How about this guy? What do we see there? Circle, right? Yeah. And there's probably even a little bit of an oval in there, but definitely a circle. How about this? Triangle. Yep. Triangle. Triangle. Where else is a triangle? The little handles. Yeah, a little triangle here. All right. And then you've got some triangles here, right? Even in the color. And then you've got some rectangles, right? And in some ways you got a circle here as well. Okay, so you've got a little bit of everything. This is a fun one. All right? There's a lot of ovals there. Why don't you guys tell me what you see? The handle. So you see the oval right there? Good. Where's another one? Bottom part. Yep, there's an oval. All right, where else? Yeah, the paintings, rectangle. I mean, oval, right? Oval. There's like three, right? There's actually four. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Where else? And the top part, right? Exactly, exactly. Isn't that crazy? So if you're thinking about pulling these shapes together, that is sort of a great way to do it. All right, if we take a look at this, what do we see? We see a circle, we see an oval, we notice the transition points, right? Even the little sort of sunflowers have those sort of oval shapes and little circle shapes. All right, so let's talk about proportion and ratio. All right, what's a proportion? It's an amount that is a part of a whole. The relationship that exists between the size, number, or amount of two things. The easiest way to sort of, I want you to be thinking about this is think about like 1/3, 2/3, all right? That's how you want to be thinking about this. So I did a little test, okay? I played a little game. I took random objects at my house and I put a ruler up to them and wanted to get a sense of how everyday objects are using proportion and ratio. All right, so let's explain this. So for this, the ratio is 3:5. It's a Sharpie box. So it's 3 inches width, and then the length is 5 inches. Okay, can everybody remember 3:5? You guys think you can remember that one? Because we're going to come back to that. All right, if we take a look at this, it's a wooden spoon, right? It's 12 inches tall and it's 2 inches wide, or a ratio of 1:6. Okay, did you see how we did that? 2:12, 1:6. All right. A Triscuit crackers. Are they crackers? What are they exactly? Something like, okay, there they are. They're crackers. Okay, they're biscuits. Okay, good. If we look at this, it's 5 width by 8. Okay, 8 length. Can you remember this? So what were the two that I wanted you guys to remember? 3:5, 5 by 8. All right. So I took a goblet. Now the photograph isn't the best, but it's really 3:5 too. So that 3:5 keeps coming up. The top section is actually 3 inches tall, and the bottom is 5. Okay. The stem, yes, correct. All right. Now, there are these principles that the Greeks figured out, was called the golden mean. It's found in nature, such as like a nautilus shell. It's seen in flowers. It's abundant in nature. And what they found was that these are the ratios that are most pleasing to the eye. Do you guys notice something here? Remember that number 3:5 or 5 by 3? It's one of the ratios. If you look at the Triscuit box, it is 5:8, okay? So when you go to the grocery store, it's not by chance that the size of those boxes are certain shapes. They're usually rectangular in nature, and they're usually following this. I don't eat cereal, okay? I used to love cereal as a kid, but I would bet a box of cereal is gonna be 8 by 13. I would just guess. So you'll look for it? Yeah, maybe measure it, right? So these are great ratios. So when you're making your pots, you can be using this as well, all right? Maybe in shapes of where you're sort of using those rectangular shapes, all right? Or how you may want to break a part of a piece together in those different parts, okay? Maybe the top section is 3 inches and the bottom section is 5 inches. All right? Now we're going to talk about symmetry. Now this is the official term. If you draw an imaginary vertical axis down the middle of an object, each side is identical. Well, what does that mean? So basically, if you draw a line in the middle of something, is each side identical, okay? So let's show a few examples of symmetry. If we look at this, although the color pattern is slightly different, but if I do draw an imaginary line in the middle of this, it is identical, right? It's kind of the same shape. Look at that. If I draw a line right in the middle of this guy, right down the center, it's identical. Look at the handle, right? If we think about cars Cars are great examples of using symmetry. Each side mirrors the other, right? So if you open the door on one side, that door is going to be essentially just the opposite on the other side. If I draw a line in here, these parts are going to be exact. Can you imagine if the grill, if this grill was like a circle or a different shape, or these were bigger, how weird that would look? All right? I mean, maybe we don't always think about those things, but symmetry is super important. All right? People's faces, if we take a look at people's faces, it's been proven that models, in fact, they have a very good use of symmetry from each side of their face, okay? But yeah, you got one eye over here, you got one eye over there. Yeah. Yeah, almost, yeah, right? Exactly. An orange is a good example of that. Each side is identical. Does that make sense? Any questions on any of that? Yeah, in a different way. Now there is other examples of, I'm going to go ahead and shut this off.